Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets, interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I'm your host, Kim Wanup. Ooh, hey there. Hey there, hi there, ho there, what the fuck is going on? We almost had a coup today. That's crazy. I was going to go on this whole rant about COVID, and then, this whole political thing, I can't take it. I can't take it. I can't wait for 2 weeks. I can't take it, but I don't know if it's going to end. I think we're at the beginning of something, and I hope I'm wrong, but I try not to get political in this. I'm not going to get political. I'm going to rant about COVID instead. I hope you had a great holiday season, as much as to be expected. I had hoped to visit my family back east for Thanksgiving, and that didn't work out, and then Christmas didn't work out. So now my show, as many in Hollywood, has been pushed and shut down for an additional week of hiatus. It's just so bad here with the virus. The New York Times is reporting that someone contracts it every 6 seconds and dies every 10 minutes in Los Angeles. It's so frightening to me to go back to work. And I know we're tested, and I know we take all of our procedures really seriously, but it still takes 10 of us in a room to light and dress and grip, and I just think it's a huge disconnect between above and below the line to get the shot. And yes, producers care about us and they want us to be safe, but the reality of it is different. Schedules aren't changing, locations aren't changing, sets aren't getting smaller, they're getting bigger. And I don't know. I thought that those things would be the first to be sacrificed a little bit for our safety, but it's not. And it's not just me saying this. Believe me, I hear it from other people. But scheduling, dressing locations, making changes on set, it's the nature of our business. It's the way we make you out there believe that these stories are real. But it comes from a lot of hard work behind the scenes, and I just think it's really irresponsible for everybody to go back to work right now. I'm a department head. I have to send my crew out to prop houses and these locations. I have to send buyers out to stores to make purchases, and I just feel like I'm putting people at risk. Like, I'm stressed out about this. I hate it. And I know we need to work, and we need the money to survive and live. And look, I got kids. I just bought a townhouse. I need cashish. But this is crazy. It's 10 times worse than the springtime. And we're all going to go back to work? I don't get it. I just don't get it. Fuck you, COVID. I don't know. I know everybody cares. I know we're all trying to do the best to get things done, but I just think it's crazy. I think see ya President's Day. That's what I think. Oh. But okay, let's move on to what's one I'm watching. I feel like I watched a lot over the break. I zoomed through the Netflix series You. The first season was really good if you're into serial killers, because I am. It's kind of, it almost could be on a network. Like, I didn't find it that, challenging of a story or anything, but it was a quick, good watch. Second season gets a little lame, but it's still decent. Third season, I'd watch it. Production designer Sarah Knowles and Hugh D.G. Moody, and the decorators Sabian O'Brien and Betsy Klumpus. God, I'm horrible with names. I think they did a great job both seasons. First season's in New York, second season's in LA. I liked it. We did every year, at least once, I watch Gone with the Wind. And so my husband and I sat down and watched that, and it's like, man, I could probably recite the whole movie. It's crazy. I just love that movie. And I have to watch it every year. And I always look at these the scenery that they have painted or what they built and how they achieved all this, and Atlanta and the streets and like all these extras and the costumes. I just love Gone with the Wind. I love it. We zipped through The Flight Attendant. Done with that. I think I talked about it last episode that I would love to be killed in that hotel room. I would. Production designer Sarah K. White and set decorator Jessica Puccelli, I think. Excellent job. Great taste. Really great textures and colors, and I gotta say that the music in it is really upbeat. I loved it. I watched Wonder Woman. All right. Yeah. I don't know. And then, Housewives always in between. So got some viewing done in the last couple weeks. On this episode, I speak with Dean Holland, who is an Emmy-winning editor for his work on The Office. He has 7 Emmy nominations for his work on The Office, Parks and Rec, and the 76th Annual Academy Awards. He also has 3 Online Film and Television Award nominations for directing for Parks and Rec and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I met Dean on Parks and Rec and was lucky enough to also work with him on the Netflix series Love. After Parks ended, we worked on that together, which was awesome. And then again, he was directing The Good Place, so I worked with him on 3 different shows. Dean started out in post-production house, and he quickly found his way to editing, and then working on shows like Behind the Music and Comedy Central pieces like Dave Attell's Up All Night and Celebrity Roasts. Working for almost a decade between The Office and Parks and Rec, Dean was able to move from editing to producing and then directing. He's been directing recent shows like Splitting Up Together, which he also produced, Bless This Mess, and The Unicorn. I am extremely lucky to be friends with Dean and to be able to have worked with him. I know that he trusts my decorating taste because he also hired me to decorate his house. He's witty and he's quick and he's a super nice guy. So I hope you enjoy.
That doesn't help.
Yeah. So you moved back to your hometown.
Yeah.
This is where you're from.
Yeah. Well, I'm from like the town next door, Yeah. But I'm probably 15 minutes from where I grew up.
That's crazy. Did you always want to move back there? Do you think, or?
I've always, yeah. I mean, it's always felt like home. It's not so much that I've always wanted to move back here, but I've always wanted to move out of
LA.
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what brought you to LA? Like, how did you get to LA?
Well, I have the classic path. I was a business major. and so you go right into entertainment. I think when I was it was like my senior year in college, one of my roommates, my buddies who I went to high school and college with was Chris Nealon, who is Kevin Nealon's brother. And always very intrigued by the entertainment industry and stuff like that. And we shot some like commercials for school, like for my business, for marketing, Yeah. I remember one of the commercials that I shot was 2 girls out in the quad doing homework, and a construction worker goes over to a Coke machine and grabs a Coke and takes off his shirt and drinks it, and they watch him. And I remember like 5 or 6 years after that, that was the biggest commercial on Coke commercial. Do you remember that? The 2 girls in the office looking out and a construction worker takes off his shirt.
Yeah.
It was like a huge Coke commercial. I was convinced my teacher stole it from me and sold it to Coke.
I'm sure he did.
He probably did. Anyway, so I liked doing that, and Chris and I were talking about moving out to California, and we were like, we've got your brother's house to stay at, and so let's do it. So I figured I would give the entertainment industry a try. I mean, I knew nothing. I had never done anything. So we packed up our bags and moved out, and I was a chef for the first year because that was the only, I knew I needed a job. So, and I cooked all through high school and college. So I cooked for the first year until I got a job at a post house.
And what, but was it that you had to click on some sort of direction, like to go into a post house? Like I never thought about going.
Well, no, it was, to be honest with you, the manager of the restaurant that I was working at, I was dating her, and she used to work at this post house. Mm-hmm. And I told her that the reason I'm out here is to get into the entertainment industry. I'm not out here to be a chef. I'm not out here to do any of that.
Right.
And she said the only connection she had was this post house. If she wanted me to get her an interview, get me an interview. And so I said yes. And, that's how I ended up editing.
Wow.
Because my first foray into the entertainment industry was, post-production.
And in post house, you're working on like the editors are working on like multiple things. Like shows are sending in their product to be edited and audio. It's like it's a house. It's like a machine of.
Yeah, I mean, they don't exist in this capacity really anymore. But it was, it was a huge place that did everything from transferring film to graphics to just offline and online editing. And my first job there is I walked around with a tray and went into every room and asked people, I'd walk in and it was Janet Jackson cutting a music video with their guy. And so I'm like, can I get you something to drink? And the next one was Guns N' Roses. And the next one was, Perry Farrell. And it was great because it was all music videos back then.
I thought you were walking around with like a tray of Coke. Anybody want a line? Like anybody?
Whenever you knocked on a door and they said go away, then you knew what was going on there.
Not now.
But I basically made cappuccinos. I got people food. That's what I did. And then like my next level up was I got to work in what they called the tape vault, where all of everyone's materials were stored. So you would come in to continue working on your music video. I'd come give you all your stuff, and then they would bring it or we would bring it to the machine room, whatever, And so I did about a year and a half there.
Wow.
And one of the clients there was a company called River Street Productions, and Tracy and Michael, who I'm great friends with today. And they hired me as a production assistant. So, then I left that company, and, when you're a production assistant at a small company, you're basically a jack of all trades.
You're everything.
It's like whatever you can do, do it. So I kind of got my hands dirty in all these things, in all aspects of it. And, I was kind of like, well, I'm not a writer, and directing feels like I have to do a lot more to get to directing, and producing sucks.
Yeah.
And so I was like, editing sounds good. And we had just bought a couple of Avids and I first learned on a nonlinear system, or on a linear system. And then they bought Avids and I learned on nonlinear. And so that when I stayed there for 4 years and did a ton of stuff. I think some of the first things I cut was car racing.
Oh my gosh.
Where, they would, there was like IndyCar and all this stuff, but then they would have these little like races like Toyota Atlantic and IndyCar Lights.
Right.
And, ESPN didn't want to play a 3-hour race. So you had to cut the race down to 24 minutes. And so, which, I remember someone telling me once, it was like, well, the story's there. It just goes around and around. So you just have to cut out the garbage and, make it 24 minutes. And it taught me how to use the equipment and all that kind of stuff. And then we started doing like promos for the WB and, all that kind of stuff. And so, I learned how to edit while I was there a very little bit. I feel like I still learn how to edit. And, after 4 years, I just took their entire Rolodex and called everybody. And I said, I'm going freelance. Who wants to hire me as an editor?
There you go.
And, and I got a job. Do you know Bill Durande from Chainsaw?
No, it sounds familiar, but I don't know him.
He owns one of the only, or used to own one of the only, big post houses left. It was bought by a large company and stuff like that, but he still edits there and still, runs it. And, I remember calling him saying, hey, are you looking for an editor? And he says, yeah, can you start tonight? Trailers and stuff like that. And, and that's when, through him, is where I got into Behind the Music.
Which I know I talked to you before about this, but the stories of Behind the Music that you cut out are probably phenomenal.
I'm telling you this, that you get all the good ones. You know, that if there was anything crazy, that's the show.
That's what made it.
You have to capitalize on all people's misfortune on those shows. Yeah. So, there's no good stuff. I think go ahead.
The best Behind the Music I ever saw, to me, was Fleetwood Mac. That was because I didn't really know them, and I watched it and I was like, what happened to these people? They all drug addicts and sleeping with each other, and they're all still friends. This is crazy.
People always talk Fleetwood Mac, they talk about Vanilla Ice.
Yes.
They talk about Motley Crue.
Yeah.
All the bands that, Vanilla Ice just had a crazy story, but Motley Crue and Fleetwood Mac, they were just drug addicts, and it's insane,
But Behind the Music was huge. Behind the Music was huge. I mean,
it was huge.
I feel like I probably watched every episode, and you couldn't wait for the next one of who were they gonna do. It was great.
Who was coming out next?
Yeah.
I mean, you knew they were in trouble when they started doing Behind the Music on Britney Spears. Yeah. You're like, no, no, that's not. But I mean, I remember they did Sonny Bono died, and in 7 days they had one airing. They put it together so fast. I think they were still cutting Act 5 when Act 1 was airing, because we used to load it up act by act. We would send it via satellite so it would go to New York and start to air. And they were still fixing Act 5 when Act 1 was airing. It was crazy.
But I'm sure it did huge, because who could get it? When you get it on that quickly, people want to watch it. It's anybody, all celebrities that die, when they have that turnaround of their lives, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I met Tasha on Behind the Music. That's where we met.
Your wife. And
was my wife.
She was editing also.
She was a producer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so that house, so when I was going through all that you've done, I was like, oh, he worked at MTV and VH1, but you were working at a post house for them. It's not were you working for MTV or just their post?
Basically, no, I never worked for MTV. I did edit at the MTV building quite a bit, but it was always most of those were Behind the Musics. I cut a lot of Behind the Musics at Chainsaw, which was Bill's company. But, they find their handful of guys and they love them, and you just, you go on to every project you can. And it was all right, but it was those were the times where, you went to work at 9:00 in the morning and you left 3 days later. That's what you did. Yeah. It just was, that's what it was. I think I remember the longest time I ever stayed up straight was 48 hours, I think.
Oh my God.
Where I edited for 48 hours straight.
And was it because of a deadline, or just I got to get this done?
I think it was I could never understand it. A lot of it was deadline, and it was always because the powers that be wouldn't do their job until the very end. And then you were like, well, now we're stuck. We have to stay here and do this until it's over. And then there was always a lot of problems. I did the Dr. Dre Behind the Music, and then right at the last minute, they're like, Dre has said a lot of stuff about Suge Knight that he shouldn't say. And we had to go back and do changes and all this stuff. And it's it didn't have to be that way. It was, I think it was just, even though they had been doing it for a few years, they were still figuring it out. And it didn't need to be as chaotic and crazy as it was.
But we say that about all of our shows that we work on.
Yeah, that is true.
It doesn't have to be this way. Are there any stories that you cut out that you remember being like, man, that was, people should know that? Or
No, but I did. Maybe this was an inkling that I should have been doing comedy. Was we did some sort of like 1999 year in review behind the music, and they were talking about Jennifer Lopez, how she has had her butt insured for $2 million at Lloyd's or whatever that company is in England, the bank, and Jim Forbes has the line, and she insured her, her backside for $2 million, and I cut into the song, "She's a big fine woman, won't you back that ass up?" And it was the funniest thing in any behind the music, and they wouldn't let me do it.
Aww.
They made me cut it out. Yeah.
I feel like she would have appreciated that. I mean,
that's exactly what I said. But
if you're gonna insure your ass,
whatever.
You got to take some jokes about it. I mean, seriously.
You got to take exactly. But it, whatever, for whatever reasons, they wouldn't let me do it. But there was nothing that I remember really. I do remember I got to speak with Dr. Dre on the phone, which was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Because he called and his answer was like, "I just watched the cut. It's hot." That was what he said. That was it. I was like, okay, great.
Are you ever like, I'm sure you get notes from producers, you get notes from the network, like you're constantly trying to edit and weave this story, but you're getting so many notes. Like, what if Dr. Dre was like, hey, I don't want this in here, but it's a crucial part of the story. Then you gotta like edit all around it. And I mean, isn't that the most annoying thing of these people's notes?
Very complicated because that's even what you're saying there. So it's like Dr. Dre has a say. And what was another big part was Jimmy Iovine, right? Like he was a huge part of it because he was the trying to balance Suge Knight and Dre and so it's not only do you have your producers and a network, which the network didn't give a lot of notes. It was really about like, make sure everyone's happy and then we'll be good with it,
Oh, that was nice.
So it was really, you had record labels, agents, managers, musicians. That's the real juggling, and it doesn't matter what you say to them. Like Tasha, my wife, was one of the people, she had to fly all over the place and interview all these people. That was her job.
Oh, wow.
She interviewed all the band members.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But you think you get it all locked in. Then there's like, all right, whatever you say, and it doesn't matter. They always want you to cut things out and don't make me look bad or all that stuff. But It is what it is.
From that, where do you go then? Is it because then it says like you did American Idol, which is like live. Is that live editing or was it?
Well, the American Idol was later on. So I was later. American Idol came during the writer's strike.
Mm-hmm.
I was already on The Office, and I called my friend Bill Durande, and I said, "Hey man, I need work during the writer's strike." And he's like, "Come do American Idol." And I did one day, and I went, "Nope."
Yep.
And I quit. But yet they put it on IMDb, so I never really did anything. I sat down in a room and some kid came behind me and started telling me what to do, and I went, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to do this."
No, I'm out. So that's super jumping ahead. So
what happened was, it was when you're in this world, you're in MTV, you're all this stuff. People start to point to you, going like, "Hey, that's the funny guy. He can cut comedy. Let's get him to do this." And I think Joel Gallen was one of the first ones to do that. Joel Gallen has a company called 10th Planet. He did all the comedy roasts. He used to do the MTV Movie Awards and all these things. And so I started cutting funny stuff where I would only cut like the movies for the MTV Movie Awards.
Right.
Where they put the star, the host in a movie and
because then you were doing roast. You were doing Dave Attell, which I love.
Yes,
I love Dave Attell.
to me, one of the highlights was I cut the opening to the Oscars with Billy Crystal.
That's awesome. That's pretty awesome.
It was a lot of fun. I did that with Troy Miller. Troy hired me for that. And, the great thing about that is you kind of write it in the edit room. So we worked for about 6 weeks putting something together with the movies where basically I would just do voices and put Billy's picture in certain movies and just, and you build what's called an animatic. And then working with Billy back and forth, Billy and Troy, we kind of hone in exactly what we want. So you basically have cut the entire thing and then you go shoot exactly what you need.
Oh, wow.
And it's all on green screen, wow. And then you plug him into the cut. You get the master movies from the people. You say, hey, I need this shot and this shot and this shot. And then you just rebuild the entire thing after you shot it. And that was really cool. I got to meet Jack Nicholson, meet Billy Crystal. Oh. It was very cool. It was called Return of the Host instead of Return of the King. Return of the King won that year.
Because he had skipped a year or something, right? He had
did for a long time, and then they tried a bunch of other people, and everyone else wasn't as good, and then Billy Crystal came back. Yeah.
I always thought he was great, but I've heard that he's a dick. But I've always heard that. But I always thought he was.
He was wonderful.
Oh, good.
I mean, I had no problem with him. He was great. But I mean, look, he may appear that way to other people. I was one of the people that got to work closely with him. I mean, we sat in an edit room for a couple of months,
Right.
And so you end up, hanging out with a person that way,
Plus, you're funny, so I mean, it helps.
Yeah, I mean, no joke. I mean, we literally wrote jokes together in there, and that was a lot of fun. I mean, my voice is actually in there for Chris Cooper, because Chris Cooper has a line from Seabiscuit where he says he just needs to learn how to be a horse again, and I changed it to host again, and it's my voice in there. I don't even know if you can find that online. I'm sure it's got to be online.
It's got to be online. I'll find it for this. I should have reviewed it.
And I don't know if that was before or after I cut a movie for Troy. And that's how Troy and I got together. And I cut a pilot for Troy. So it just, once I started cutting scripted stuff like the MTV Movie Awards stuff, that's when I started getting more scripted work. And the world of reality TV slowly went away.
Because you have, which one was Troy's? Not the Hebrew Hammer. The Three Amigos?
No, that was Run, Ronnie, Run.
Oh, Run, Ronnie, Run. That's right before it, yeah.
Yeah. So we did that. And so I don't know if that's before or after the Oscars. The Oscar thing is, I think, in special, like if you're on IMDb, it's not in editing. It's on something.
Yeah, it's under your
category.
Editorial department. It's 2004.
Yeah, editorial department.
So 2004, and they've Run, Ronnie, Run at 2002. Yeah,
so I did Run, Ronnie, Run first. I'm gonna look that up right now too. Yeah, that makes sense. I haven't looked at that.
When you're doing movies, is the pressure off a little bit, or is it because you seem to have? I feel like they bring editing on so early now, but now. Because you get to, you're editing dailies basically, but.
To me, back then, everything was pressure. Like, I felt like I got to edit stuff that I wasn't ready for right away. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people I connected with, and they're like, well, we're going to have you edit our pilot. And I'm like, what's a pilot? Like, right. I didn't know, Right. And I remember I was cutting the pilot, and I heard Troy was doing a movie, and I walked into his office. I go, I want to cut your movie. And he goes, don't come in here not having read a script or knowing jack shit and telling me you want to cut my movie. And he takes a script and he throws it at me. Thinking he was going, now read the script. So, but yeah, I felt like it was a lot of pressure. I still always feel pressure. I mean, I just got this pilot, and as soon as it was over, I was like, well, the meeting well, but now the hard part comes is now I have to do it.
Now I have to do it. I know.
It always scares me.
There's plenty of times I read like episodes and I'm like, wow, I can't wait to watch this. I don't want to decorate it. I don't want to know what my schedule is going to be the next 3 weeks, but I can't wait to watch this episode.
Watch it. Exactly. But then, that's where, like, I think everyone's career is kind of all this kind of scattered all over the place thing. But I think it was with that pilot with Troy, Run, Ronnie, Run, and a couple other things. It's like, I think the next thing I got was...
I mean,
I think I got Entourage first. I think I got Entourage. I got Entourage and The Office almost at the exact same time.
Yeah, they both say 2005. But you did 6 episodes of Entourage.
I cut 2 episodes of Entourage over the summer, and then I was on The Office in the second season, which the first season was 6 episodes, and so I came on in the second season. And then basically I did that every year. I was like, The Office through the year, and then the summer was Entourage, and The Office was through the season, and the summer was Entourage.
When you're editing shows like that, and I find that amazing that, I did that back and forth a little bit with like Love and Veep and whatever. Like, you get to do 2 shows a year. It's awesome because then you're not stuck in the same thing. It's great. But when you're editing that and one is for cable versus network, is your editing style different?
Well, I mean, look at the shows, right? Entourage and The Office couldn't be further apart.
Yeah.
The Office was far more difficult to edit.
Really?
More difficult. Entourage, everything was kind of a stylized shot to get you to the next thing, and so Entourage cut together instantly. And I would cut those episodes together so fast that they'd be like, well, look, just stay home until Doug wants to come watch at it. And I would be gone for 3 weeks, and then Doug would want to look at it and I'd come back in. Right. Where The Office was, and whatever you cut, almost everything that I cut for Entourage, Doug would change maybe some music.
Wow.
And change a couple of things, but the cuts were great. Every year he asked me to quit The Office
and come back.
But I was like, it's just more episodes at The Office we were doing like 27, 28, 29 episodes a year.
They're long,
where
long seasons.
It was like 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and whatever your cut was, that was what Entourage was. Where The Office was, my first cut was 45 minutes long, and it needed to be 21. And there were 4 or 5 different storylines happening.
I know.
And so that was much harder to deal with than Entourage. So I liked Office because it was so much more challenging. And the people were fabulous, and I got along with everybody so well there.
I would think that The Office, I didn't think that The Office would be harder than Entourage, but to me, I just rewatched the whole Office in the last couple months. And to me, the timing of the edit cuts for the little looks that people get, it's so crucial to the success of the comedy in those scenes that
I can't tell you how many times someone would say, trim that by a frame, and I'd be like, all right, and we try a frame, and they go, nope, put it back. And one frame. It was such precision in that editing. I mean, I've always been very proud of the work that Dave Rogers and I did editing that show. I mean, I know there were other editors after us and stuff like that, but for those first 4 years, it was he and I. And I thought we did great work. I loved it. Yeah. I really loved it. And I think that is where all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm learning how to edit. I'm learning how to tell a story and how to craft comedy, in editing.
But you're also helping the actors who don't even know it. You're helping them develop their characters because
and they knew that.
Well, that's good. Thank God.
No, they really did. It was. I mean, I'm telling you, The Office was shot way out in the middle of nowhere, off of Satakoy. Yeah. No one ever went out there. We were a tight knit family, and everybody knew what everybody contributed. It was a great atmosphere.
And how was that getting notes? Were there a lot of notes of like focus more on Michael Scott or?
I was definitely a bigger part of the notes process once we got to Parks, but for the first couple of years, you're kept out of everything. Greg would just come down and go, all right, here's what you have to do. He wouldn't say it was a network note. He wouldn't say it was anything. It was just these changes. And we did lots and lots and lots of changes. I mean, it was nonstop work. And the problem is a lot of that is getting it to time. You'll look back at those first few years, and we started doing what was called supersize episodes.
Right.
That the episode was 28, 29 minutes long, and it was 45 minutes on television. It was because they were like, we don't want to cut it. It's too good.
Yeah.
And then what we also started airing like C and D stories online. So we would cut stuff for the internet, so when the show ended, it'd go to NBC.com and you could watch more because we had just a plethora of material. But the notes were extensive, but I think it was always a lot, mainly internal, I think. Greg would work something until it was perfect.
Wow. I think the first couple seasons are where it's at. I mean, the development of the characters and there's not too many stories. Like, I feel like because I really tried to pinpoint why didn't it work? What happened?
Yeah.
And to me, it was like there was 8 different stories going on in like the last episodes. Like every character had a story, and there was no central bounce. Like the Michael Scott never. I don't know. To me, I was like, I think that's why. Because James Spader, I thought was great. The couple episodes with Will Ferrell, I thought were great. But for some reason, it was too much going on. Like
It's too much. And by the way, those stories were probably written wonderfully.
Yeah.
But you can't squeeze that into 21 and a half minutes.
Yeah. It was too much. And then not focusing enough on, so much of Jim and Pam, but not having, and then like Andy went away. It just got so messy because he went away to do Hangover or something and like left the show for 6-7 months. And then it was like, we thought you were going to be the Michael Scott, and then he just left, and it was so.
And then you disappeared.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed rewatching.
I was gone by that point. I left in the first half of season 5. So I edited season 2, 3, 4, and some of 5.
And then you left. Then you left to do Parks?
Do Parks, yeah.
Were you in Parks from the pilot on?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I got along with Mike really well at The Office. And it always seemed to be that every episode that I cut was or every episode that Mike wrote that I cut. And I got along with Greg great, and they were always so generous to me, right? Mm-hmm. They were always, I don't know what it was, we all clicked, whatever, maybe they're just really great people, I don't know. But they just kind of, we would talk and I'd say, I'd like to do this, and they'd say, okay, I heard Mike was going to make a new show, and I said, I want to go with you. I want to go to your show. And he said, I want to bring you. I was the one and only person that left the office and went to Parks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And Greg made me go and tell every person at the office that it was my decision and that he was not taking me because he promised everyone that he would not take anyone to go to Parks.
Wow. Because you can rate...
Jenna Krasinski cornered me and were furious.
Well, yeah,
it was pretty funny.
You're key to their success of putting their
exactly, and they knew that I used to be able to watch, and I'd go, nope, that's Jenna, that's not Pam, or that's Rain, it's not Dwight, it's not. You could just, there were just little subtleties that you could watch certain takes and go, nope, this is the right one, and I think they trusted us with that as well.
Were there a lot of takes for The Office? Yeah, I would assume so.
I once did, now I'm blanking on the number, but Steve Carell once did, I think, 150 takes of a talking head. Maybe it was 100. It was 100. I think it was just shy of 100. And I think we used take number 1.
what was it, a long interview, or was it?
It was Carell. Carell felt like, I think what happened is he nailed it, and then he went off on a tangent and never felt like he found it. And so they went back the next day and reshot more too. But ultimately, he had it on take one.
Wow.
I mean, Carell's instincts were phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. He was so good at what he did.
Yeah. It's so apparent of him discovering who Michael Scott was and not being the Ricky Gervais.
Totally.
That there is a little thing of like, oh, that was a little too crude, or that didn't work, and then it was like you guys hit this mark, and then it was just like, boom, everybody knows basically who their character is, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's such a good show,
and everyone kind of figured that out, and they knew it. I mean, I think season 2 of The Office is like one of the greatest seasons of television.
Yeah, I was gonna say season 2 I think is the best, and.
Yep.
And it's still awkward, and the lighting is still harsh, and it's still realistic, where by the end everyone is so polished, the lighting is perfect, like, and I know that happens in a lot of shows. It happened on Veep. It happens on a lot of shows.
How do you do that? Like, you know, you've been on TV for 9 years, and you know, people get older and they're like, I'm tired of looking at myself looking like crap, and I get that, but it was those first few years that it really stayed true to that. You know?
Yeah. And I think kind of the same with Parks. I mean, people definitely got prettier as it went on, and the lighting.
Yeah, they did.
And the thing too, with The Office being that spy cam and everything, and you having to edit that, almost like a new way of watching TV. Not like, you know, like NYPD Blue used to do a lot of that too, where like you were spying in on people, but as a comedy. It was so refreshing to be like, oh, I'm in the conversation here. It was it's such
I'm telling you, almost every time that camera whipped across to something, 9 times out of 10, there's an edit in that whip.
Oh.
It was insane. And what we would do is sometimes I would pull a few frames out of the whip because I needed it to get there faster for timing. Mm-hmm. And most of the time I would edit to a different take, because the camera didn't land on it perfectly. And so you want to get the perfect landing for a reaction shot. So we would edit in those whips, and you can't tell any of them.
God, no, I would never have thought that.
No,
that's
it's crazy.
Craftsmanship.
It's so...
That's awesome.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
So was it always supposed to be that Parks was going to give that same feeling? Because it was Mike and Greg and you, and like this, you already...
You know, this part I don't know too much about, because there was politics and stuff like that behind it. But ultimately, I believe NBC wanted a spinoff of The Office. Mm. And Greg said, okay. And he and Mike made Parks. And so they didn't get exactly what they wanted. And they were trying to capitalize on the documentary thing, but you know, we quickly turned away from that, knowing, hey, we can shoot things differently and be funny, and it doesn't have to be this mockumentary. Yeah. You know, so I think by season 2, we kind of started getting away from that as well.
Yeah.
You know, but it originally started that way.
Wow. How is it to just start a show? You've done it a couple times.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I've done it a few times. I love it. I mean, there's nothing better than being a part of that. It's really spectacular. I mean, and knowing, you know, Mike and Greg were so darn good to me, saying, like, I was like, I want to go to Parks, and I'll edit, and I want to direct, and I want to be a producer on the show. And I think I got some sort of producer credit in the first 6 episodes, and season 2 I was directing,
because you directed episodes of the Office also, so they already knew you. It wasn't like you were saying, I want to do this. You had done it on The Office and proven,
right? I remember I wanted to direct on The Office, and Greg said, well, you should go direct something. So I directed one of those MTV movie award shorts, which wasn't very good, but I directed. And then in that season 5 came, the deal that I made with Greg was, you know, that, and again, he was so great to give it to me, was that I would stay on The Office. I would direct on The Office. And when the new show came, I would go to the new show. My pay wouldn't change. And I would edit on that show and direct, probably not in the first 6, but I would direct in the second season, and I would get producer credits. And they absolutely lived up to their word and did exactly what I wanted. And I hope that I did a good job, because they certainly let me direct a lot of them.
Right.
And yeah, I think I directed 27 episodes or something. And then I think by season 3, I couldn't edit anymore because I was directing so much. And then they started letting me go direct other shows in the middle of the season. And, it was great.
Is editing your own directing hard?
Ask that again.
Because were you editing your own episodes that you directed?
Yeah. Yes, I was.
Is that easier?
I don't like doing that.
No.
Because when I edit the stuff that I direct, I just look at how poorly I directed everything. Well, and also, if you don't, to me, it's a very collaborative medium, and I want someone else's opinion. So if I shoot something, I want to see how an editor is going to put it together. And if they're wrong, I'm going to put it together the way I want to. But it's like getting someone else's interpretation of something is, I think, extremely important. And I like hearing other people's opinions.
But do you think being an editor first helps a lot in directing? Because you think, Absolutely. Like, I'm going to need this insert, or I'm going to need this shot, I'm going to need this reaction?
It's yes. And what it taught me was options. It taught me get different performance from actors. It taught me get different angles to cut to, because you're very limited if you just shoot a certain, like, I'm just going to shoot one size on this and then one size on that and a wide. And you're like, well, now it doesn't cut together well.
Right.
So when people say, oh, you must shoot like an editor, you shoot exactly what you want and move on. And I'm like, no, I shoot like an editor. I shoot everything I can think of.
Right.
So I can,
make
it work in the editor. Yeah. It's all about options.
When I look back on Parks, I think it was like the high school of my career, and so fitting that for our final wrap gift, they gave everybody a yearbook that I just packed up and looked at the other day. But to me, I'll probably never have that again.
Right, totally.
I just think from top to bottom, everyone was nice. Everyone was like encouraging. I mean, there's still, a job to be done, and, people are still producing, and there's still pressure and everything. But the actors were great. There wasn't, like, fear that there is on a lot of other shows that you work on, this weird fear of either actors or producers or whatever it is. And because you were there in the beginning, you are a part of that. Like, how did you create that environment so well?
That
how did you do it so we can do it on another show?
Yeah. It's really hard. I think it stems from a lot of things. I think part of the reason, most of the reason is Mike Schur.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Mike Schur is such a wonderful guy and all this stuff, and that's a big part of it. But it's also, there was one clear vision on that show, and it was Mike's. I know Greg was there early on, but he quickly realized that this is going to be Mike's, and he let Mike have it. And Mike ran that show, and he ran it better than anyone runs a show. And when you have a super nice, friendly guy who lets everybody do their job,
yes,
and he doesn't micromanage,
yes,
you then get happy people because he's happy. But it also, you go to Mike and go, Mike, what do you want for this? I want that. Done.
Yeah.
Like, there was never, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Should we look at that? Like, that was eliminated from that show because Mike knew exactly what he wanted.
Wow.
And I think that trickled down, and so I know it was like, there was Mike, there was Morgan, there was me. I tend to be a very happy-go-lucky guy. Morgan's miserable.
Yeah, always.
But it was like, there's, if you look at that as the same thing as here's Mike who does that, Morgan's one of the best producers
Absolutely.
ever.
Absolutely.
100%. I mean, he truly, he knows more than anyone.
Yeah.
He knows how to get things done. There was never, ever, ever, ever anything that was asked for where Morgan goes, we can't do that.
Well,
that
I know.
was never, ever the answer.
But I know set-wise, I got to a point being comfortable and saying, like, can't we just not, this is too much. like the Unity concert or like these huge sets that we pull off.
Because we would do it because Mike loved all that stuff. And Morgan was like, if this is what makes the show good, then we'll figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah.
And so you have Mike, who just created that atmosphere, Morgan, who knew how to run it. Then there was me, who was on set all the time. And so it's just like, it kind of just, you're never going to capture it again.
No.
It's just not going to happen. I've been on shows where I've kind of tried to run them, and I don't have that, that confidence that Mike has. Even though I think a lot of people think I am confident and all that, Mike just has that next elevated level that I don't have. I try to emulate it, but I can't. But I don't think you can capture that again. The Office was almost there, and Parks elevated it to a whole new level.
I was going to say, did the Office have that? No, yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't one bad egg on our set on Parks, not one.
No.
And when you have a line of actors, a line of crew members begging to get on that show, because everybody knew it. I mean, the reason I got love after Parks was Judd basically said, I heard Parks is the best run show in town.
Yeah.
So I'm going to grab Morgan and I'm going to grab Dean and put Morgan on a movie and Dean on a show. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And
you split up the family. I went with you. I went with Mom, and Dad went in that way.
Yeah. I mean, it really was. I mean, kudos to Judd for realizing, hey, why don't I just hire
all those
the place
people
where everyone's happy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was crazy when we went off to do other projects, and we still would run into each other and be like, oh, when are we getting together again? Like, when is the next show? And then,
What's the next show?
Yeah.
I feel like we all still do that.
Yeah.
We still kind of do that.
I think they do try to keep the same people together, and they've worked in a couple of new faces that really suck, but it's fine. But
Good Place was pretty great, but I mean, it still wasn't the same as Parks. I'm talking about behind the scene.
Yeah.
The that energy, but I mean, I directed a bunch of those, and I loved it over there.
Yeah, I think it was close, but not there. It was. Yeah. It was like going back for a reunion, but now you're all kind of older, and you're like, eh.
People brought their spouses, and you're like,
like, why are they here? And like, oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I didn't realize how many times Mike Schur was in The Office. I thought he was in for like 1 or 2 episodes. He was in there a bunch. I didn't.
He was in it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he and I worked so well together. I think part of the reason Mike and I got along so well together is because I love to argue with Mike. I mean, I always lost, but it never stopped me from trying because I would try to fight for things that I really liked in the show. And I think every once in a while he threw me a bone and let me win, but usually he won.
So I came on to Parks season 4, and I didn't have a ton of interaction with Mike, but you're in meetings and everything. And by season 5, I think I was comfortable with you and Morgan and David Hyman, and said, I kind of think that Mike doesn't know my name. So,
And he probably didn't.
He probably didn't. But so you said, well, let's just call you Janet and see if, if he gets it.
That's
So
right.
we would be in art department meetings, and you and sometimes Morgan would be like, oh, that's a good point, Janet. And then, like, I'll let it slide and whatever. And not until that last season, he said, we got into the conversation. Something came up about Janet, and he said, no, I know your name is Kim, but I don't know why they keep calling you Janet. Like, and I remember feeling so bad of like, oh my God, I hope he doesn't think we were trying to like nastily prank him or something. But he was so like, I don't know why these jerks are calling you Janet or something. So he sort of turned it, and I was like, that's genius. And then all through Good Place,
think about it though, like, we've all been on production meetings and concept meetings on shows that are just miserable. I mean, every production meeting and concept meeting was a blast on that show.
It was fun. It was funny, and it was creative. Like, each department, if it was Gabe Perillo in props, or with Kristen Mann with, like, costumes, like, there was just such synergy of everybody wanting it to be great for Mike, because he was so into it, and we were all just so into it. It was great. Really was.
He always had answers
that
you didn't expect. They were so pensive. He's like, oh my God. Whenever you ask someone a question, you kind of realize, oh, you haven't thought about this yet, have you? Mm-hmm. Always thought about it. You could tell Mike, he's like, well, we discussed that for an hour in the writer's room. You're like, how do you think about that? And he thought about everything, you know? And I think that's part of it. Like, because Mike, they didn't just write in the writer's room. They talked about all that stuff.
Yeah.
They really, really talked about how should it look? How should it feel? Where should it be? Where's the location? And so when you brought things up to him, he got it.
Yeah.
And there was never a time where we're like, hey, you got these two scenes. Can we combine it and put it in this location? He was always like, yeah, done.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Because he knew it was saving us money so that we could do something else.
I think, though, what was harder about that on The Good Place was that he had a secret about it being The Good Place. And so then not that he was ever like, said, I don't know, figure it out. He would try to explain things of reasoning why it should be this without giving it away to everyone. And I think that hurts a little bit when you can't creatively, everyone's not in on it. He was basically the only one. So, but I didn't get there till season 2. And I still think that rippled a little bit of like, there was so much to figure out on The Good Place that he was just creating just because it's another world, that
far more complicated show.
It was much more complicated creatively of like, well, is it this? And then it's like, well, we don't, it is. And he would have definite answers, but there was, I think too, especially for Gay, coming up with these props and everything, it was really creative for her because you don't know what it is. It's not like on Pawnee, she's coming up with another cake. It's like she's coming up with glow-in-the-dark handcuffs and shit. So
right, because and also it didn't need to be grounded in reality.
Right.
I mean, look where you were. Like it just that opens up a whole new world.
Yeah.
You know, for what you could accomplish.
Yeah, it was an amazing storyline. Really, when you. From start to beginning, The Good Place is an amazing story. I don't even know how I came up with it. And it's so intricate and yeah. But yeah. So
he took me to breakfast. He took me to breakfast at Good Neighbor.
Nice.
And it pitched me the whole from start to finish of Good Place. And I was like, that's amazing.
And how are you going to do that? Like on a network?
And why am I on this show, Love?
Right. Which we worked together on Love.
Yes.
And so that is actually up until that point the first time I started a series. Like it was my perm sets and everything. So it was wonderful to me to be in at the beginning of Love, which is on Netflix. And it's such a quirky little story. But how did you...
Yep.
I mean, you said that Judd just picked up these people, but what made you want to do Love?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Judd sent me the pilot script and all 60 pages of it, and I thought it was amazing. I was like, look, for 12, 13 years, I had been under the Greg Daniels umbrella, kind of, between Greg and Mike, and those two shows, look-wise, editing-wise, directing-wise, were similar. And, I've been able to direct a handful of other shows and stuff like that. But this was different. This was interesting. And I thought, wow, I could really learn how to direct on this show. And ironically, that's what Judd said to me. He goes, "You're gonna walk away from the show being a much better director than you are now."
Oh, that's awesome.
And I remember how I told you that I felt like I learned how to edit on The Office. I felt like I learned how to direct on Love.
Wow. Yeah.
Even though 27 episodes of Parks and all these other things that I did, yes, I learned, but I think that Love got me to elevate and learn not just comedy. I think I learned how to edit or direct comedy on Parks, but I learned how to direct, have a larger repertoire of ideas and how to do stuff on Love. And so I was thrilled with the script. I loved the script. Obviously working with Judd was a huge draw.
Yeah.
And, and it was one of those things where I think Judd and I started working on it and doing this and that. And slowly he was like, "Yeah, I don't want to direct the pilot. You should direct the pilot," which was fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, yeah. And so, and I think he, looked to me to kind of, all right, here's, build the ship and set it off to sail. And, and I think they'd hoped it had done 5 more seasons, but, I think it did 3 seasons total. And, but I loved it. I absolutely loved that. I look back as one of my fondest memories. And, I think doing that show also opened up a lot of doors. Like I started getting sent movie scripts because of Love. Wow.
I didn't.
And I was never sent that on, 7 years of Parks. Not one movie script was sent my way. But as soon as Love came out, they literally poured in.
Well, it looked good. Like it looked like a movie. And I remember the conversations when we started it of like, it's basically like one big movie that we were cutting up into episodes. Yeah. Like that was the feeling that Ian and I.
That's what even like that was the style that I approached it too. Judd and I said every episode's an independent film.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like instead of saying this is The Office and we do handheld style where we whip back and forth, we didn't want this show to be that way. We didn't want to say we shoot everything on dolly and with a move or whatever. Every scene, the scene dictated
how you shot it.
How we shot it. Yeah. When there was a fight going, there was handheld and, there was long oneers and there was walk and talks. It was like every scene was shot differently. And I think that's what made it feel like a movie.
And when you're starting up a show and then you do it again with splitting up together and you're starting, you're producing, you're directing, you're not editing anymore. How do you interact with the creatives, like the production designer or me or like the set decorator or costumes? Like as a producer, now you got this producer hat on. Like how do you know how to do that? How do you?
I don't think that anyone knows how to do that. I think when I was on The Office, I realized that I wasn't there because I was the best editor in the world. I was there because Greg liked my opinion. And I didn't go to Parks because Mike thought I was the best editor in the world or would be the best director in the world. I think he liked my opinion, and I spoke my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what you take with you when you start doing your own shows like Love and Splitting Up. And it's because I only just do what I know how to do.
Right.
Or whoever, or the DP or whatever I'm going, I'm like, here's what I'm looking for. How do we make it work that way?
Right.
That opening shot of Splitting Up together, the opening and ending shot, which were those huge, crazy long shots, they were very difficult to pull out of the DP and get him to do it. I remember we were ending this shot that pulls out. It starts on a close-up of a phone, follows through the house, and goes all the way back to an establishing shot of the house through the window and goes outside. Right. And it was like, he's like, you're done, you're losing weight, we got to go. And I'm like, nope, it's not right yet. And of course, we used the very last one. I stopped when we had it. But I just talk to people. And by the way, you say, how do you do that? But really, for the last 10 years, I've been doing it, or, whatever at that point.
Right.
You've been speaking creatively with all these people, from DP, right, production designer, costume, props, everybody. You're already doing that. It's just now you don't go, is that right?
Right.
You're not looking over your shoulder anymore.
Right.
This is what I want. Right. And until somebody above me tells me not to do it, that's what I'm going to do.
Good. That's a good answer.
I
Listen, what I've got out of you is you ask for what you want. Like you asked to, like, can I go do this? Can I go do the park? Can I go do parks? Like, I feel like you definitely have a thing like, can I do this? This is what I want to do. How can I get there? How can I ask? What's my direct way to get to it? I feel like you're pretty direct in your path, actually, from chef to producer.
Yeah. Cut out through all of that, but I'm pretty sure you're saying that
it was I
basically just asked for what I want.
Yeah, it was a complete love letter of you just asked for what you want from chef to producer. you basically have been like, no, this is what I want. Now I like this. Let me go do it. But you're not an asshole. You're a good guy that people respect your opinion.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like, I don't ever want to be an asshole to people. I want people to love working with and for me, whatever it is. But when I was a PA a long time ago, I was making $500 a week, and they brought me into the office and they said, you have been doing fantastic. We're going to give you a raise. We're going to give you $100 a week raise. And I said to them, you know what? That's fantastic. Thank you very much. But whoa, they were so taken back by that. And they said, well, give us a minute. And I left the office and I came back out and they go, all right, 200. And I was like, well, shit, I guess if you ask for stuff, people are going to give it to you.
Yeah. That's that's a very millennial way to be.
Yeah. And so I just you're never going to get anything if you don't ask for it.
Right.
Right. And so I think people are often very scared of that. They're intimidated by other people, and as am I, but it's not going to happen if I don't ask for it. No one is just going to give you things. It just never, ever, ever happens. Doesn't matter if it's the nicest person in the world. They're never going to give it to you. I mean, Mike Schur used to say, oh my God, Dean's contract is up. I don't want to negotiate with Dean. And it was just because I think all 4 years of The Office, I kind of said, all right, well then I'm going to go get another job.
Right.
And then we would negotiate and I'd get more money. And it wasn't because all that below the line stuff, the networks are like, you get your 2.5% or 3% or whatever. And that's standard. We don't give it to anyone else.
Yeah.
And you have to think you have a little bit of value to the show or the job. Yeah. You have to think that if you don't work your butt off, you're never going to get anything. So my theory was work my ass off, do the best job as I can, and then ask for the sun and the moon and see what happens.
I remember after getting the Emmy for Veep and then coming back to work and thinking like, it's going to be, I'm just going to put it out there what I want, and I'm probably going to get it. So cool. I'm not going to be crazy. I'm going to ask for what I deserve. And it was like, no. Like, not that they laughed completely in my face, but they were like, no.
Yeah.
You get your 2%.
We all think Emmys do everything for us, and it doesn't really do.
No, it doesn't do anything.
It doesn't do anything.
I think for actors, but not for creative. If you're on the creative Emmys, it's not helping you.
Yeah, that's not helping.
No, not at all.
It doesn't matter.
So, was it a different process starting up Love than splitting up together because it was network? Was it harder? Is it harder to be?
Well,
once you've got that taste of streaming and the freedoms, at least I like.
No,
streaming.
it's all the same. Look, to me, it was kind of who the power that be is, and on Love you had Judd Apatow,
right?
And Judd's a force, right? I mean, no one's telling Judd what to do, and even Netflix. Like, I remember. Like, we received a bunch of notes. Judd was loving the cuts as we were shooting the first season, and he's like, Dean, send them the first 3 cuts. They're amazing. Send them. And someone came back with a bunch of notes, and Judd was like, responded with, this isn't a I send you cuts, you send me notes kind of situation. You'll get all the cuts when I'm done. And that's the power of Judd.
Yeah.
So whether that is a network show or a streaming show or whatever, that's what he brings to the table.
Yeah.
And he's really smart. He's really good with this stuff. He knows what works. And then, then when I did Splitting Up together with Emily, who I get along with great, and it's a network, it's different. It's like you don't have that Judd Apatow. And so we were just trying to make the best show that we could and not have the network cancel it. Because networks cancel stuff at the drop of a hat. They're like, was that wind? Let's cancel it,
Yeah. Is it January?
Raining? Cancel the show.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's an issue, And also, we were already picked up for multiple episodes on Love, where Splitting Up, it was a pilot. And you need to get the pilot passed and get everyone loving it, and then the pilot gets picked up, and then you do more episodes, and then you hope for another season and all that stuff. So that changes the dynamic a little bit. You kind of have to tiptoe more.
I mean, even on Parks, they thought they were being canceled like every season. So I mean, it was like every season.
No joke. Every season I was printing out a resume at the end of every year looking for a new job.
Even 4, 5, 6. Like I didn't think they were coming back.
I know. Hold on a second. Here, come here. Come over here. Wait till you see this one. Sorry.
Let me see.
Dinner's ready.
Oh my gosh. Oh, look how big you are.
Remember Kim?
Look at that long hair you have. How beautiful.
No.
How are you? You look so big. I can't believe how big you are.
Well, she's getting so big.
Yeah.
She's so big.
Oh, you're still the baby, though.
I know. She's still a baby. Well, she'll be a baby when she's 20.
I know.
I'll be in a little bit, okay?
I just have 3 questions left, and then I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
See how it just goes, and then I'm like, oh my God, it's an hour and a half. I gotta let you go. Is it hard to direct friends? Like, because I feel like on Parks or like the other shows, like you become friends with these actors. Is it harder to direct them?
I would say it is. Maybe it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
because
you're comfortable, but too comfortable.
There's a shorthand. I mean, with so many people I can direct. I still work with Nick Offerman all the time. And there's such a shorthand. I'm like, Nick, a little bit, and like, it's already understood.
Right.
So that's great. But there's also, on some actors, Nick not being one of them, you sit there and go like, well, the actor might want to go off on some tangent and they think they can because we're friends and that they'll all think it's funny. And so it is harder to go.
Yeah.
So it helps and it hurts. It's like you do have to remember that you have a job to do as the director and get the best possible performance and shots and all this kind of stuff. And I think because I've always been very loose and come from the world of Parks and The Office, that there's always wanting to be a ton of improv. And improv does not always work. And there are certain people who do not know how to do improv, you know? Yeah. And so it ends up just slowing you down. We're like, all right, none of this is working. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And you got to be the bad guy, you know?
Yeah. At least on Parks, they would have the scenes written and everything, and then they called it like a candy bag. And then the writer...
a candy bag and a fun run.
Yeah. The writer on set or whatever would come, or you're coming up with like alts, and then you'd film them and everything. And that's got to be the controlled... I think it's more of a controlled type of improv on the shows, so that the actors...
It's helpful.
Yeah. And it probably helps.
I think maybe I learned this from Judd, but I remember doing this on Love with whoever writer was there. Usually it was Dave King. I'd go, Dave, none of this is work. This feels odd to me. Can you, while I light and do this thing, can you rework this so that we can try? So, and then I would help do it with him sometimes, but it was like I'd set that in motion as I went and took care of other things, and then I would come back and we would rework it. Then when we liked something, we'd go to the actor and bring it to them. And if the actor was skilled enough, we would also include the actor. Hey, this doesn't work. What about something like this? And then pitch ideas. And so, again, it's very collaborative. And if you don't do that, I guess you're David Fincher and you just do it exactly the way you want it and hope that it works, which sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But I don't know which way is better. I've never tried the other way. So
I have to think the collaborative, only because humbling enough. Like, I don't know, someone else probably has a better idea than me. So like so why not? I always start
out with, this is a really horrible idea, but what if we did this? And if people laugh, then I'm like, all right, then it's a good idea, or whatever,
Do you have a show or a film in all of history and or now that you wish you directed?
That I wish I directed?
Yeah. Oh my God. It's my neighbor's car. Do you hear that big rum? It's my neighbor's car. It's like right out my back window. Sorry.
I think, like, I don't know if there's wish that I directed. I'm always envious of a lot of people. I'm always envious of how good certain things look. I think, I would say three things. And I think it's because I love the movie or the series, and I'm jealous that I could not do something like that. And it's probably True Romance, Shawshank Redemption, and The Haunting of Hill House.
The original Haunting of Hill House, or the one that just
the new series that's on right now? I feel like it's an artistic masterpiece. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Really?
Yeah, I really do.
I'm blown away. I mean, Timothy, what is it? Timothy Dalton is so bad in it. It's so bad.
He's not in that.
I thought The Haunting on Hill House, isn't that the series that they did about the mom that died?
It's Timothy Dalton in it?
Not Timothy. It's
the E.T. kid.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying is I like it for what he made the show. The guy, I'm blanking on his name right now. The guy who created it. What he made it look like. I feel like, it's a scary show.
Yeah.
And I feel like every scare is unique instead of the old classic. Like, I can watch any horror movie and go, and now. And I know when the scare is coming. And I feel like he always did it differently.
Oh, this is completely...
Did you ever watch it?
Yeah,
I watched... Spoiler alert. I'm going to say this right now. Spoiler alert.
No. I watched the whole thing. It's created by Mike Flanagan. And
Mike Flanagan.
Henry Thomas is so bad.
Henry Thomas. So do you know when the little girl Nell kills herself?
Yeah.
When she's grown up.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden she hangs herself, but we think the ghost did it or whatever. She hangs herself, and all of a sudden it drops back in the show every single time the girls saw the bent neck lady.
Right.
Realizing that she is the bent neck lady. I thought that was insanely smart. I thought that was so cool. I'd never seen that before. And then also I love episode 6, which is the whole thing is a oneer.
Yes.
And
yeah, that is creatively very interesting.
I remember they had a huge long oneer.
Yeah. It's crazy. It is absolutely
How
crazy.
do you do that with kids?
Yeah.
That was a masterpiece.
That is very creative, and I will give it to them for like doing that.
Yeah.
I felt
and
like
I'm not saying the performances, but
I feel like every time I thought it was going to get good and that was a good twist, and then it did something dumb and I was like, "Oh. Okay, now I'm back to like this is stupid." And then it would get good and then it would do something stupid.
I know. I thought like the way he made that look, the way he shot it, I just was blown away. I was blown away.
Did you watch the Blythe Manor one?
Yeah, I didn't like it.
I didn't watch it. I was like, I'm not going to watch it. Wow. That and Shawshank, and you're putting...
I would say Shawshank and True Romance are two of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And I have one of those things like True Romance was written by Quentin Tarantino, but directed by Tony Scott. I always sit back and go, I'm so glad Tarantino didn't direct it.
Yeah. He knew enough not to let it go.
Yeah, and I just feel like, oh my God, the performances, the actors, it's so good. It's so good.
It's so good.
I got to direct a show with Christian Slater, and I was giddy I'm like, True Romance is the greatest movie ever.
I heard he's the nicest guy. My friend designed it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, he loved it.
He never left the set. He was always there, first one there, ready to go. I mean, it was a blast working with him.
That's awesome. And are you watching anything right now that's inspiring? I mean, you've been pretty busy, but I mean, through pandemic, like, have you seen anything that you're like, oh, that's...
it's a little slim pickings right now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the last really great show that I've watched was. And I think it's a stretch. I think we're going back in time. I mean, the last truly great show that I watched was probably either Breaking Bad or Mad Men,
Wow. But you've all these weird little horror shows that you're...
Right, but that's just it. It's like, so that, I mean, I love that for the look of it.
Yeah.
And you pointed out some things that I agree with. So it's not an all-encompassing great show. It just, I loved the way it looked. And Grady's watching it right now. And I should never let an 11-year-old watch it, but he loves it. So that's why it's fresh on my mind.
I just started The Flight Attendant, and it's pretty good. And what I really like about it is the music, the tempo, and the editing too. Like, it just keeps you going, and like you feel like you're with this girl in this whole like murder mystery. It's an intense level that I like. But that's cool.
I just got HBO Max because I used to have HBO, which gave me the HBO Go or whatever it was. But then we moved and we were in a rental house for 2 months, and then we're here. So I literally just signed on to HBO Max like a couple days ago. So I'm gonna watch that.
Get on that, yeah. We went without HBO for like a week, and then I was like, I gotta get that. I don't know what this HBO Max thing is, but I gotta get it. Like, I can't live without HBO.
Too many good shows.
Yeah. It's New Year's Eve, and I'm keeping you from dinner, so I'll quickly say thank you so much. This was so great to talk to you like this.
And good to catch up.
I know, and I miss you guys so much. And I
know. Well, I might be out there, and if you're available, I've got a show in like 3 weeks.
It's awkward for me to interview my friends on this podcast. It doesn't really get any easier. But I have to say, not knowing people's backgrounds, and I don't know what that tells you about being friends with people that I don't really know their backstories, it helps, and I find it fascinating and so relatable to how, everyone sort of got to where they were. I especially like hearing how Dean just basically asked for what he wanted, and that really helped him project to the next position. And that's a lesson right there. I really enjoyed hearing that from him. so I hope you did too. I do hope everyone is staying safe and healthy, and as having a very good 2021 so far. And coming up, I got some extraordinary interviews coming up to share with you. I have Jan Pascal, set decorator, who is hot off of Mank, and I'm pretty sure in the running for an Oscar nod for that. And her competition will most likely be production designer Jim Bissell for The Midnight Sky. I don't know how these people are talking to me, but they are. So super excited. Those are coming up. I might have a few in between, but those are the two that I have in the vault or in the bank right now. So yeah, got that coming up for you. I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanna for Decorating Pages. Let's have some fun. It's 2021. Get your Stogie Floaty and float in style. Stogie Floaty, available now on Amazon, Etsy, and stogiefloaty.com.
Welcome to Pro Tips for the Pros, brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads. In this series, we'll explore essential advice for professional contractors to deliver outstanding renovation results. Let's dive in. Clear communication is key to a successful renovation. Keep the customer informed at every stage of the project, addressing any concerns or questions promptly to maintain trust and satisfaction. Thank you for joining us for this pro tip on planning thorough renovations. Stay tuned for more expert advice brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads.
A lot of people tolerate ordinary. Ordinary bathrooms, kitchens, entryways. Well, not on your watch. If you're a pro, you've got a new partner in town. Floor & Decor. From tile to wood to stone, Floor & Decor has more styles and job lot quantities of Schluter, Mapei, Laticrete, and other brands pros trust. Come see a whole new way to wow with Floor & Decor. Coming soon to Bailey's Crossroads.